Welcome back to Brews and Business. I'm your host, Braedon Kruse, streaming live here at the Blue Studio. Today's episode is about brewing with patriotism with our sponsor, I Love Joe Coffee Company. Now, before we jump into today's episode, let's take a moment to appreciate the brew that keeps us going. The episode is proudly brought to you by I Love Coffee Company, a woman and veteran-owned business right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I Love Joe offers multiple coffee blends, each meticulously crafted to suit different taste profiles and roast levels. Whether you prefer a light and vibrant Bugle Boy, the all-day companion Old Glory, the pour-over favorite Haile to the Chief, or a strong and robust Bombs Away, there's a blend for every coffee lover. Support local and enjoy the brew that fuels our podcast. Check out I Love Joe Coffee Company, and remember that every sip is a salute to our soldiers. In this episode, we get the unique opportunity to sit down with the owners, Greg and Cyndi, and learn from the incredible duo of I Love Coffee Company. And we are going to explore their passions for how they create their unique, flavorsome coffee blends and their admirable commitment to giving back to our soldiers. Welcome, Greg and Cyndi. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you
pleasure
guys
to be
here.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Glad
So
to be here.
we're going to taste a couple of these today. So we're going to take a quick break before we get too far into it, and we can chat back and forth while we do it. But we have Haile to the Chief. This was one that you guys brought. I appreciate you guys bringing this. Tell me a little bit about Haile to the Chief while I go ahead and prep this brew.
Hail to the Chief is dedicated in memory of my father because his nickname in his squadron was Chief. He's a Muskogee Creek Nation Indian tribal member, so that was why we decided to go with Hail to the Chief.
Okay. And now, of all your guys' flavors, what number was this one? Was this one of your early ones?
You hear that?
I hear that. It sounds
Beautiful.
delicious.
As far as
Yeah. So I noticed here we've got it's like 6 different flavors. Is that one of your guys' first blends? Were you guys
Yes.
working on that? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's, I think our third blend.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
One of the
Started-
early
Yeah.
on ones that really
Yes.
hit it
So
off.
I'm going to go ahead and pass this around. So this is the Haile to the Chief bag. And I want you to think of and identify any profiles as well that you think about. So any aromas. So if you look at the flavor wheel, we've got some that are like flowery, fruity, herbally, nutty, caramely,
It's a little
spicy,
nutty, I feel like.
nutty. What are you supposed to
Some
smell?
sweetness, some vanilla maybe. It smells delicious. I can't wait to taste it.
Cyndi.
So this one here, the
Yeah.
Hail to the Chief, is actually it has a rich flavor of notes in dark chocolate and dried fruit.
I was gonna
So
say
you were
chocolate.
close. You said nutty. So
That smells really good.
Yeah, nutty. It's a medium to dark roast
yes,
with a distinguished flavor that truly shines as a pour over.
yes,
And so
that's exactly how we're trying it right now.
Yeah.
Is with a pour over.
Okay, so how'd you guys get started in this? Like why'd you guys start I Love Joe?
Well, to be honest, it's something that I've been doing for over a decade. It started way back when I started helping veterans to bridge the gap between resources and with the VA and the veteran to get them the benefits that they needed. And it slowly, as time went on, I realized that there was a lot more disparity in other ways. And so I kind of put 2 and 2 together. I mean, when I was in the military on our breaks, we all sat down, we all had a nice cup of coffee, enjoyed each other's company, tried to, fix the world's problems, whatever the case may be.
Which coffee can help with fixing the world's problems.
Exactly, it does. It does.
It brings people together.
For some, it is that thing that they need to protect others from their rage. No, but seriously, it's just something that it's the camaraderie that you get with friends and family. I mean, it just brings everybody together. And it was something that I remembered from the military. And I really wanted to just try and bring that back. in the flavors of this coffee. And I really just want a really good basic brew that brings us all together. Nothing fancy, no frou-frou, but
And something
good.
that's also not burnt.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. You know, so many times we get these coffee. Nowadays, people are misunderstand what a really good cup of coffee tastes like because we have so many companies out there that are just literally roasting their beans,
Burning them
burning them,
and overcooking them.
and overcooking them. And this one is a completely different process. It's amazing. It's delicious. You can't help it. You love it.
Yeah, pass hers down. Pass the cups around.
So we're spreading the love. I don't know. We
So,
gotta- we
Greg,
gotta-
Greg, what do you? Tell me your backstory.
Okay, as a truck driver, we'd done some training online just to get a financial
Oh, wrong way.
education
Pass that.
and to create an extra stream of revenue. We were brainstorming, and Cyndi has said, "I have this in my back pocket. Gee, I love Joe. I've been researching it." I says, "Let's run with it." And so here we are today. We've actually got the coffee. We've got logos. We're getting our website set up. We're looking at really trying to make a difference and bring a really good cup of coffee to anybody that enjoys coffee.
Do you guys have any programs or anything set up to like give back or anything like that yet, or are you still exploring those methods? Or
We're kind of working on them right now. But another little bit of a back history too for Greg is as a truck driver, they live on coffee. That's what keeps them going.
oh shoot, yeah,
You know, so when it comes to a decent cup of coffee, he knows. I mean,
Yeah.
stop at any truck stop.
And you're gonna get shit coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, just bottom line.
So you guys should come up with a way to make it portable. And if you do, I know a truck repair and wash in Oklahoma City, and maybe there's a way to kind of sell like a trucker's kit to be able to brew on the go. Okay, so those portable French presses. What if
I've
you
got
sold
one.
Yes,
a branded
I've
portable French press with a bag about this size? That's all. I'd hate to say pre-ground, but you've got to have it pre-ground, right? It's got to be
Right.
ready to go.
Yeah.
But pre-ground, and they just got to figure out how to have hot water, which they could just get from a gas station.
Funny you should
Any truck stop has usually a spout for hot water coming off their coffee makers.
Okay, so take a quick moment. What do you smell? What do you taste?
Well, I've been waiting to do this. It smells really good.
go for it.
That's good. That's good coffee. Damn, that's good.
It's a good cup of joe.
Good job, guys. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything to this. You just
Just
enjoy
enjoying the
it.
flavor.
Yes, this is wow. Good job.
So a lot of people, like what you were saying earlier, they just want to dump a bunch of sugar and a bunch of creamer, like vanilla creamer, like great value, and you're like, come on, you just ruined it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I'll take some friends to a coffee shop, and they'll order something, and then they just dump a bunch of creamer and sugar into it. I'm like, no, you just ruined that coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, most coffee places, when you put that cream and sugar in there, it's to break down the bitter, processed or roasted beans and just trying to mellow it out a little bit. That's why you're putting all those things in there. We want to provide that coffee that you don't have to do that with. It's important to us to just have a really good, flavorful cup of coffee. Now, you can definitely taste the notes more so than you can smell the notes
Mm-hmm.
of that chocolate and that fruit in there. Oh boy, Alex has already got
Yeah,
it
that's-
finished off.
that's
He,
gone.
he didn't
That's
even
good coffee.
play.
There's some coffee that I've had that's like really berry-like,
Yes.
and you can definitely smell it and you can definitely taste it. This one I don't taste very much like fruit. On the fruit side, I don't taste very much berryness,
right.
as I
right.
do a little bit more of the nutty,
Yes.
the nuttiness.
Yes, the nuttiness.
Would you
or
agree?
that-
Yeah.
Sorry, in the background here, we have another person who's kind of part of our-
Significant person.
a very
Yes.
significant
Yes.
person who is also a partner of mine. Her name is Marlene Diaz, and she represents a lot of different things, actually. She's done so much with the military and currently works for the VA. So, we partnered because we both love a great cup of coffee, and our company is looking to help veterans in need. And I guess what we're really looking to do is build a bridge between the resources and the veteran. There's so many resources out there. And with all the negative that we've got going on today with veterans, the it's a mission 22 is all about losing 22 people a day to suicide. That actual number is more like 44 and more. So it's sad to say that we're losing our military members because they come back and they don't know what to do.
They don't know how to deal. They don't know how to manage trauma,
Right.
right? And the response to that is difficult without having the necessary support, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
The mental and emotional support is just as important as the physical.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Completely
And
agree.
and unfortunately, our military is left. Basically, they come home and they say, "Well, thank you very much, great job, love you," and out the door you go. Oops, I'm bumping things here now too.
It's fine. We'll all
Um,
do it.
But that's basically, they give you the golden handshake and out the door you go, and they don't say, "Go get signed up with the VA, get some assistance. If you got any problems, here's these things that you can reach out for. You don't have to do it alone. There's plenty of people in this world that understand what you're going through, if not already going through it themselves. Marlene and I are kind of veterans in arms, sisters in arms, women in arms, whatever. Marlene is also a Navy veteran, and she and I ran into each other through the VA, and we just clicked.
Would Greg, would you be open to swapping with Marlene and introducing
Yes.
her?
Yes, I would.
We should do that. So let's go ahead and Marlene can help out with prepping the
Another-
next one, because in this one, I'm going to hand this off to you too. It's a little bit harder for me to do it properly. Yeah. So this next blend, and I'll hand the pot off to her as well.
That one
This-
there is Bombs Away.
This one here is Bombs Away. Now, Bombs Away is a strong dark roast, and it's perfect for an espresso brew when you're after that robust flavor. But it's also good as a pour over or a Chemex, right?
Yes.
Hand that off to Marlene.
Any way you want to brew it, it turns out to be a great cup of coffee. Whether you just put it in a coffee pot and brew it,
Yeah.
or if you want to go the extra mile and French press it or do a pour over, we have not found a way to ruin this coffee yet. Not that we've been trying.
Okay, so smell this one. This one's Hail to the Chief.
That's the one we just drank.
That's the one that we just drank.
Yep.
And now we're transitioning to the Bombs Away. Now, this one's a dark roast. That one's more of a medium roast, medium to dark.
I'm just saying that one would do good in my office every day.
But something I want you to notice about the flavor profile is that even though it is a medium roast, you get more of a dark roast flavor. So it's a little bit stronger than so somebody that likes a stronger cup of coffee, like an espresso, it doesn't have to be burnt beyond repair or, total foobar. This company that we work with does a specialized air roasting process, and they created their own air roasting
Their
machine.
yeah.
The roasting machine. They actually created it. It's all scientifically and it's literally computerized. They can take 5 pounds of coffee beans raw, stick it in this roaster, and they know exactly what temperature to roast it at, how long to roast it at, and they get the perfect bean every single time. What they basically do is they roast the bean to its potential rather than charring it like most drum roasters do. With an air roaster process, what they do is they actually put it in there, and the first thing that it does is it runs air through the chamber and raises the beans to a fluid type bed. So it's literally held up by the air inside the chamber.
Before they bring the air to the temperature to roast it
Right. And then that way it roasts evenly all the way around. And you get this light. I mean, and if you look at the beans actually in the bag, you'll notice that they're all different colors. So
On all of them or just this one?
no, all of every single flavor. The beans are a different color. So that means that they're literally roasted to their potential.
I don't understand.
I noticed it on a. Yeah, it was Bombs Away. It's Bombs Away. That's
So
the
the
one.
Bugle
That's
right
the
here.
first one that I opened. I didn't open the other two yet.
You haven't opened
so
Old
sorry.
Glory. That's our best one. Or look, well, I
Wait,
think so anyway.
You can get better than Hail to the G? That was pretty
Heck,
coffee.
yeah.
That was pretty
The
good.
reason Old Glory is named Old Glory is because it is a good blend to drink all day long. Doesn't matter.
it doesn't have that acidity where most coffees you can only have a cup or two,
Yeah.
and then you got to quit because your stomach's all tore up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This has the essence of acidity, but it's just the essence. You taste it because it's an actual citrus, but
Yeah.
it's not the acid that sits in your stomach and makes your stomach gurgle. You can
Right.
drink this all day long and not have any issues.
Right.
Right.
Well, you'll get the taste of citrus because in a lot of these there is that citrus note. So if it tastes acidic, don't mistake it as being acidic. It's actually a citrus flavor.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Marlene, you want to swap with Greg? Yeah, sure. Love to give you a little bit of an introduction to Marlene, and I love your jacket that you're wearing. And I know you guys aren't
I know,
able
I'm
to.
jealous.
I know if
I'm
you guys,
so jealous.
you guys that are listening in, if you want to see what her jacket looks like, you got to go watch the YouTube video because your jacket is awesome.
It
like
is very cool.
I would wear that daily.
now turn around a little bit so they can see the back of it.
Is that like the
Oh,
Wonder
wow,
Woman
Wonder
symbol?
Woman
It's
logo.
the
Yeah,
Wonder
that's
Woman
awesome.
symbol.
Yes. Okay.
And
Is that a
then-
customized jacket? Did you find it or what?
So
There's a story to the jacket. I must know.
yeah, there is a story. So my husband and I, we were at the mall somewhere, and there's a little shop that does a lot of like just anime,
Superhero type stuff.
superhero type stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm a very frugal woman. If I don't have to pay full price for anything, I don't. So I'm flipping through, and I find this jacket, and I'm like, oh my Lanta, it's done. So of course I got it for the fraction of what the original cost was, and then I customized it. So I'm a
Nice.
Navy veteran, and OD green is not necessarily the color we wore in the military,
Right.
But it's my husband's Army, so
Actually, I started out in OD green.
we all did.
And eventually it switched over to the now BDU type.
Mhm.
So
So,
Alex is like shaking
give me
in his
a little
boots here for that.
backstory to your involvement with Joe I Love Joe. Like, how'd you get involved with that?
So Cyndi and I met through mutual resources, and I was a peer support specialist for about 10 years, which there's psychiatrists and therapists and things like that. So I'm a certified peer coach, and Cyndi and I met, and she pitched her idea to me, and she was like, "Hey, I know you have extensive background in business. I've worked for the United States Navy as well as the Air Force as the general manager of many facilities, bowling alleys, clubs, things of that nature. I've managed millions of dollars of assets." So she was like, "Hey, I got this idea, and hello."
Welcome back.
So she was like, "I have this idea," and I was like, "Okay, great, run with it." And she kind of told me what her passion was about the coffee, and we had agreed that coffee right now is just very fussy. It's fussy, and
Never heard that term with coffee.
yeah, it's fussy.
It's very fussy.
What does
you
that
walk
mean?
Into, you
It's
walk
fussy,
into,
like you said. They dump sugar, they dump creamer, whipped cream, let's drizzle caramel, like coffee and chocolate. I'm like, no.
Then you got your soy milk.
Well, a
you got
mocha
your
is
almond
different.
milk.
No.
Mochas, lattes, that's different. Like there's levels to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but no.
Macchiatos,
It's
cortados.
It's still
You don't do
fussy.
cortados?
Though
Cort-
that's fussy
Cort-
coffee.
Cortados are fuzzy or macchiatos?
Yes.
Or cafe au laits or
Yes.
Anything that is
Really?
added to the
Okay,
coffee
so-
is fussy.
See, I've been
Okay.
drinking coffee since
It's
I
hard
was
to
8 years
say
old.
it. It's
yeah,
fussy.
same here. Cheers. Yeah,
Cheers, because-
my grandma was like, told my mom, she's like, it's not gonna hurt him. And look at where it started.
It's definitely hurt you.
I think it was,
I'm Puerto
but
Rican.
I don't get sick. And so there's like some good health benefits to coffee.
Oh, there is.
Right?
There
Like
is.
the antioxidant
if it's
levels.
black.
If it's black, not
If
fussy.
it's black, not
Okay.
fussy.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've been drinking coffee since I was 8 years old. I'm of Puerto Rican descent. So, I mean, I was 8 years old. Typical breakfast was a piece of bread, a piece of cheese, and, café con leche, which is coffee
Yes.
with cream.
Right.
Cream, either milk or heavy whipping cream, not half and half and all this other stuff. That
One of
makes
the ladies in my office, she loves heavy whipping cream with her coffees and stuff. She's from
Most
Honduras.
definitely.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
because it's a café con leche. So it's a different, and then we dump the cheese in there, it melts, and then you take your piece of bread. So I've been drinking coffee since I was 8 years old. And this is something that you can drink, no sugar, no milk, like no fuss, like a good, clean, just nice, crisp cup of coffee. When we served in the military, back then, in the late 80s, early 90s, it was Folgers and mackerel's out, like literally
Yeah.
red or blue buckets. That was it.
Yep.
And,
Well,
we-
and the government, God forbid, that they might fork over money for sugar and cream. You just drank it the way you want it, the way they gave it to you, and liked it. So
Well, you didn't have the ability for the fuss. Like
back then, no.
and even especially in the military, like
Right.
you don't have your sergeant walking up to you and be like, "Would you like some cream? Whip
Right.
cream it."
We're
No,
about
no.
to get sidetracked
only
with
that-
soft people now.
Not only that, but we're both mechanics. So both our jobs in the military were some form of machinery, right? So I'm down in Hades hell because I was in the bowels of the ship. I was an engineman. So guess what? We put the coffee pot on the engine because it was hot enough.
Yeah.
And we made our coffee in the hole. That's what we called it. So yeah, no fuss.
yeah.
Black coffee. That was it.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
love that. What branch?
I'm United States Navy.
And I'm Air Force.
Okay, my grandpa was in the Vietnam War.
Awesome.
I don't remember what position he was in, but appreciate you guys. I have friends, and actually my sister's in the military as well. She is getting promoted to CA1C.
Congrats.
Nice.
Nice.
She's 17.
Oh,
She
awesome.
graduated high school at 16, and she's wanted to do one of two things. She wanted to be either a pediatric heart surgeon, or she wanted to be an evac medic. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Like when what you
That
guys
is very
do
cool.
and all the things you guys go through to want to be qualified, get in, go all the way through, go through basic training, and were you guys do you guys go through? Did you guys get deployed? Did you guys go
I
out?
did not. No.
I did
Yes.
when I was serving in my time. So yeah, out to sea 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, creamer runs out, milk runs out. There's not a bodega on the corner for us to go get that milk. We drink it black. So
Where'd you go?
I was what they consider a Westpac Navy. I was my first duty station was actually Subic Bay PI.
Okay.
And then from there, I was stationed in Guam, and on Guam I was on the USS Holland. And of course, we had tours to Japan, our games or our training scenarios and things like that. I was also on a dry dock that we had to kind of take through the straits when we transferred it from the Philippines to Guam. So yeah, I have my sea legs.
So we'll take a time out real quick. What do you taste, Abel?
Haven't tasted yet.
What do you taste?
I've been
Yeah,
waiting,
yeah,
for, I've
yeah.
been waiting for my moment.
Give me a
Yeah.
whiff.
Do it.
This one's not as like nutty as the last one.
Dude, that's definitely way better.
So you'd rank this one.
Oh, I drink
above-
this one over the hell of the cheese.
So
Absolutely.
So this is Bombs Away.
Oh, yeah.
It's a strong dark roast.
This is a good
And
one.
a lot of people have a misconception about the roast levels having, like, the darker the roast, the more the caffeine. and it's actually the opposite. So the longer it's roasted, the less caffeine it has. So the lighter the roast, the more the caffeine. So people are like, "Oh, I need a dark roast. Give me a
Well,
good
I don't
jump in
know-
the morning." I'm like,
I don't know if
"Yes."
you've noticed, but when you make the pot, you see how beautiful the color is. It's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful amber versus something that's dark, right?
That's the first thing I noticed.
When you get a Starbucks cup of coffee,
black. it's
You said it, I
dark,
didn't.
man.
It's dark.
Yeah, it's dark.
Right. And this one here, I'll just give you a little bit of background. This one is made with African, North American, and South Pacific beans. Light roasted to dark creates something truly amazing. It does have a sweet touch of chocolate and citrus. So it's great. The beauty of all of these coffees, first let me say this. The beauty of all of these coffees is you can make it a light cup of coffee, add a little more grounds, you can get yourself a nice dark cup of coffee.
Okay, let's set that straight too. And I think you are the right person to help people understand how to make a good cup of coffee. Okay, so if I buy this, I could brew it multiple ways.
yes.
And I could use however
Right.
many amount of grounds, and I can also change whether it's coarse or fine.
Correct.
So my experience, if anybody at home buys this and makes it at home, how do I make sure I make it the correct way?
That's a great question.
So for me, French press or
Chemex?
Chemex are my two favorite. I mean, if I'm in a rush, I'll put it in a pot. But I have a grinder. I got a small little grinder.
Burr grinder or is
Sorry?
it a burr grinder or a blade?
Blade.
Blade. Okay.
So I grind it. Usually I'm a 3-scoop girl for one pot. Because again, I'm used to a strong espresso from my native Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
That's before I got turned on to this. Because the minute she was like, I got something for you. And I'm like, what's up? And she brought it and I was like, thank you. Thank you.
Isn't it like 8 ounces of water per tablespoon?
Actually, no.
Or is it 10?
6.
Six.
Six.
It's 6. That's what it is. Yep.
And most like regular traditional coffee makers their pots are based on 12 6-ounce cups rather than 12 8-ounce cups. So when you pour a cup of coffee and before you know it, after about the third cup, you're gone, it's because you're using a larger cup than what the and they've done this. This is the common for years. If you want to get a little history behind
That's
the
the
coffee.
whole 8
Yeah.
hot dogs and 10 hot dog buns thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it is. The bottom line is that the way that they measured it was at 6 ounces.
Okay.
But,
So
Marlene and I, we like our 16 to 32 ounce cups. And so, that's one pot of coffee.
Yeah.
So like a
Just
Chemex
saying.
or a French press, they're typically similar size. You can adjust sizes for French presses and Chemexes, but
Right.
for the average size, they're going to be about 30 ounces.
Right.
So divide that by 6, then there's how many tablespoons you need.
Right. So Cyndi likes, her perfect scoop, and
I do.
She puts her measure. I like, mine. I'm a little heavy-handed, so it's not a level scoop. It's a nice heaping scoop. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many different ways you can make it. So what I love about this coffee, about our coffee, is that it doesn't matter. You can't muck it up. You're gonna get a great cup of coffee every time. Versus, some other brands, right? You put too much, you're like, oh my lands, I just made mud. Versus, this nice smooth. And again, I know you guys have tasted 2 of our flavors, but that finish is important.
Mm-hmm.
That nice smooth finish.
It's good coffee.
So Alex, in the first cup, did you taste that, like almost that citrus flavor?
yeah, a little bit.
Do you taste it in this cup?
I don't.
I don't.
I
no.
don't taste it in this one.
Yeah.
I taste, I smelled like some herbs, maybe like hay type smell, alfalfa maybe. And when I taste it,
Very specific. I appreciate that.
sorry, dude. The smell came to me. I was like, I smelled this at some point in my life. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, it smells, like when I used to go take care of the horses.
Well, and I think that that's another thing is that this cup of coffee also brings about nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of our business is nostalgia. Something that we're running with because it's going to be run by 2 women veterans And of course, on our logo, we really are looking at the pinup girl, because we want to bring a little bit more of a feminine side to the business. 90% of your coffee companies out there, especially the veteran ones, are more masculine. You'll see skulls, you'll see guns, you'll see all of these other things. Well, men aren't the only ones who drink coffee. Women run on coffee.
Or in the military.
Or in the military, everybody drinks coffee. And if you don't, it's usually tea, and well, then you're considered a sissy, but okay, whatever. Um, but no, we want to bring about that femininity, just like the pinup girls of World War II brought that femininity into the military.
Well, back then it was luck.
It was
right?
luck,
It was,
right.
we're going to put this pin up on this, because again, especially for a lot of the fly boys, it was about bringing about that luck for them.
Right.
Anytime you look at any of the, vessels or the machinery, aircrafts, things of that nature from the 40s, that era.
Yep.
There's a pinup girl.
It's funny. I just told Chance, was it this week or last week? I was like, dude, there's a whole market we're missing here. I was like, the pinup scene has to come back. Like, you see everybody going towards the old carbureted cars again. You see everybody going back. And it's like, why? Because we've sissified too much. There's too much censorship, and we're going back towards, like, the pinup is just a very good point. It's like we're trying to go back to that transition where people can just be people again, enjoy a nice, simple cup of coffee. And, the whole pinup thing, it's like, yeah, it's provocative, it's whatever. But I'm like out here flying for you guys. I'm like dying. If I just want to look at a cool art, on my plane or whatever it is, that's okay. And now we're muddling everything, right? Just like the coffee and everything. We're losing that touch, and that, like you said, you guys are bringing the femininity back to the coffee, back to this. And it's such I just bring it up because, like I said, I just said it to Chance the other day. I love that you guys are bringing it back. It's something that, as we've all seen, history will continue to repeat itself. All these trends. That jacket's cool because it was
Right.
cool 40 years ago, 30 years ago,
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it's cool now.
exactly.
And it's all coming back. And I love that you guys are tying those two things together. A simple cup of coffee, something that throws that femininity back into the business, and at the same time, something that caters to a lot of veterans, because frankly, when you're out there, you're bored, you're missing your family, all this and that. You get artistic, well, then you come out the pinup girls or all this and that, and it's like, it's cool. It's just you're expressing art, expressing something.
And
Right.
what a lot of people don't know is, our nation's military is probably the top, I'm not going to say top, but the 1% of our nation, right? Because it's a voluntary thing. It's not like back in Vietnam era where they were drafted, right? Most men have to, once they turn 18, they have to register civil service. Okay, it just fell out of my head. No, it just said, poof.
It'll
come back.
And then call me the blonde.
I know, right? So, ultimately, now it's back. See, what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a lot more female veterans, right? There's a lot more women joining. And the disparities, in comparison to the male veteran versus the female veteran, we see it on a daily basis at the Veteran Affairs. But we have more females coming back that have deployed, that are committing suicide. And let's be realistic. You guys are meant to be our protectors and our providers, but the feminine, right? Women are the nurturers. We're the backbone of this country. My grandmother, she was, before she came to New York, she sewed uniforms for the military in her time. So in the 1920s, that's how she served. She served by making sure, and she was a magnificent seamstress and passed that, skill set down to her daughters. And what a lot of people don't understand is that there's a huge disparity, right? So a male veteran gets out the military and there's plenty of services. So when a female gets out, if she's a single mom, now she's reunited with her kids. So on top of all her traumas, now she has to deal with her children, right? Childcare, pregnancy. There's just a lot, right? Anatomically, we're different. Our needs are different. But there's a lot of disparities between the female veteran and the male veteran. So,
And let's not take away from the point that in pretty much all of American history, women have always been a part of the military in one way, shape, or form. We may not
Correct.
have served at the beginning, but we did what we needed to do. There's women out there who dressed up like men, got out on the front lines, even during the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. Women have always been a part of the military. We just were never recognized as being a part of the military. And it really, to be honest, hasn't really been noticed up until about 2000. Here we are in the 21st century, and we're just now starting to get resources for women.
Man, that's crazy. You know, I didn't know any of that because I'm not military based. My wife's family, it's funny. The only two of her whole family, the only two military are both women. One of them is married to her husband's military as well. But it never crossed my mind. But it's like, seriously, you think about that. It's like there is a lot more women because you have my family. There's 6 of us, 4 boys, 2 women. Not a single of us went to military. We're like, hey, thank you guys, but it's not for us. Mm-hmm. And then you look at my wife's family. There's 6 of them, 4 girls, 2 boys, and 2 of those girls put it upon themselves to go to the military. And now, you know, they're back home and they're living a normal life per se. But that never clicked until you guys just said that just now. And the more I think about it, the more I think I know quite a few women veterans. Really, it's just kind of like you guys said. It's the mentally we don't recognize that. We think, oh, military, you're automatically a man. But you're right. There's so many women that the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, you know what? I know like probably 10 women that have all served in some way, shape, or form that you just don't think about that. And you, like you said, most of the time, just like the resources, and I love that you guys are doing something about that, you know, in some small form. But the resources, I know my wife didn't go to the military, but I saw the changes and everything that happened to my wife, going through kids and all that. And I can't imagine having to come back from serving, having to go through all those biological changes and all those things. And like you said, on us, we are the providers. We feel that weight. You guys are the nurturers. And especially if you come back home, you don't even have time to nurture yourself, you know, and you're now having put back into taking care of your kids, taking care of, frankly, your husband, so he can take care of you. You know, it's this whole thing that you just don't realize.
Right.
And once you guys just said it, it's like, wow, we're falling short there.
Yeah,
and I love that you guys are doing something about that.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize on your comment with women being the backbone of this country and kind of dating back to the 1960s where there wasn't as many women in the combat roles in the military, but there was several other roles. And there was a whole social uphill and change in the civil rights movement and the feminist movements. Right. And here are some roles that I found: nursing and medical support. Right. They were often nurses heavily involved in providing medical care to wounded soldiers. Their work was especially crucial during the Vietnam War, where they served close to combat zones. Administrative roles, clerical tasks, freeing men from combat roles. Support and logistics, where women served involved in planning, logistics, supplies, ensuring that the troops had what they needed, where and when they needed it. And communication, women often worked in communications as operators or coordinators. R&D, women contributed to the military technology and intelligence. USO and morale, they participated in organizations like the United Service Organizations, aiming to boost the morale of the troops. And I think that's kind of maybe where the pinup girl kind of comes in.
So now,
right?
Actually,
I don't know if you paid attention, but how many times did you say support?
Yeah, well, backbone. I mean, it's the structure, the skeleton. Like, yeah, and
so now
this is
think of the female veteran, right? That now is getting deployed and is now being taken away from her children and her husband, right?
Yep.
Husband relies on the support of the wife, right? Mm-hmm. All of us in here are
Absolutely
married or, you know, in committed relationships, right? As well as the children. So now while the men go to war, who's at home handling everything, writing those love letters, making sure that mentally they're being supported?
Mm-hmm.
I love this. I watched a TikTok video where a guy was talking about how it's bliss when men and women naturally play their roles.
Correct.
And have you ever heard, take this statement how you will, but there's a saying that's like, behind every man, there's a woman there to support him. Right. Or whatever, right?
Well,
there's some natural roles there.
Right.
They complement each other.
Masculine,
that doesn't mean a woman can't go and do what a man can, right? But
there are some women out there that are just meant to be that way.
Right.
Yeah.
But taking that aspect into consideration, first of all, those statements can also be taken back as early as World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Rosie the Riveter. We had so many people out there, especially the nurses overseas.
But not only
fighting.
that, not to interrupt you, but think about it. When all our men went to war in World War I and II, who was left behind?
Women had to do all the man shows.
And
Yeah.
we had to fill in. We had to backfill.
Right, to make sure
Right?
that they still had what they needed on the front lines. So, but now taking that in a different perspective and putting that on, or putting a woman in a male dominant field, which is what I did, which is what Marlene did. And a lot of women take on those roles nowadays in the military. I was a diesel mechanic. I worked on fire trucks on the flight line. So, you know, you don't typically see a woman my size, my shape, and I was even smaller then. So, you know, they looked at you and kind of laughed, but
Until you manhandle that tire.
exactly.
My sister, my
And-
sister's petite in size, and so I'm sure she's going to have the same troubles that you did at some point,
Right.
With her perception, how people see her, and
Right.
she can be small but powerful, right?
Right. But what we were dealing with is the man's club. That's what we kind of title it, as the man's club. This is a male dominant field. You don't belong. I was raised by mechanics. My dad, both my uncles, all mechanics. My dad served. I have a couple of other family members who served. And I just felt my patriotism and I just wanted to do what was right. But then I get to my first permanent duty station and it's, I mean, I'm blown away by the disrespect and anger.
And on top of that, being made to feel like a second-class citizen.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, we won't get into the other things, but there's so many other things that are put on a woman's shoulders when they're in the military. We're there like everyone else. We're there to do a job, do it to the best of our ability. And at the end of the day, we don't care if you're a man or a woman. We don't care if you're orange or purple. We don't care if you're black or white.
Just do your job.
Just
pull your weight.
do your job, pull your weight,
Correct.
and you're fine.
There's a movie clip I saw on TikTok where I think they were in basic training. There was a women's line and a men's line to do pull-ups. And there was a minimum number of pull-ups that each gender had to do. The woman walks up, it was her turn, and she's like, put me in that line. And he's like, Sergeant's like, what? And she's like, yeah, put me in that line. I'll do it. He's like, you need to do at least 15 or whatever it was. She's like, okay, I'll beat that. And so she went over there and she did like 27 pull-ups in this movie. I don't remember what the movie was called, but it was cool. Like,
Right, but
it's
then in
substantial
that
she-
that situation though, she just put the biggest target on her back.
Yeah, she opened herself up.
She opened herself up because now all those men behind her that couldn't meet now, what do you think they're gonna do?
they're going to try to get 30.
No,
Pull-ups.
she
But if
just,
they
she
can't,
just- inferior. What?
but if they can,
But they
Because
can't, then
she
it feels
just-
inferior. or
right,
whatever,
right.
She just
Yeah.
hit them in the
So,
ego,
you know,
and there's no winning there.
Again, it's going
Right.
I'm so grateful you said ego because that's what it is.
That's
right?
all it is.
We
Yeah.
were
Right.
created so masculine and feminine, right? I had made the statement, you guys are providers and protectors. We're nurturers, right? So if our men are doing what they're supposed to do, then guess what? We can fall back into our feminine and be that feminine presence, be that feminine energy.
right.
Now, when our men are not doing what they're supposed to, now you've just put that on us. So now we have to be both the feminine and the masculine.
Oh, yeah.
And that consciousness doesn't exist. It's not being taught. It's not being taught that you're supposed to be chivalrous. You're supposed to treat, again, who brings life into the world?
Think about it, Braedon. How many times have we talked where we're talking about the amazing things that we've done in our lives, and whenever it comes to how, we always point it back to our women. Always point it back. I mean, I've raved numerous times over what my wife does for me and allows me to work, to provide, to protect our family. But you just mentioned it to a T. By me being able to do that, she naturally gets to fall into her feminine role. She's homeschooling the kids. She's taking care of the house, cooking, and trying new things. But in the Army, that's a level playing field.
It's
Right.
supposed to be, yes.
It's supposed to be.
So
and
now-
then you have your ego trips, right? Your
Right.
whole masculine, feminine, and you guys are vastly outnumbered.
So now here's the other component to that, right? You just, again, but now because she's in her feminine and taking care of business. Now, when you get home, now you can let your feminine come out a little
Right.
bit.
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
we're all masculine and feminine, right?
Absolutely.
Each and every one of us have those two entities in us. But now you know that now you're in a safe place where if you need to weep, you can, because you're not going to be judged. You're not going to be ridiculed,
Mhm.
right? But with us, right? So the young lady that blew him out the water, right? Now she's going to have to, her masculine's going to have to be up. She's
Mhm.
going to have to constantly be on guard, right? Just because she was just, again, it's a level playing field.
Yeah.
And guess what? We have to perform. When we go out to deployments and our female veterans or our female soldiers are on that front line, you know, and then we have a monthly
There is no
we
crying,
have a
there is
monthly
no curling up in a
situation that
ball.
happens, right? So yeah, I can't go run off because I need my comfort break. No, we have to perform. Our standard is across the board. But now when we get out, the veteran affairs, again, Cyndi made a valid point. We don't get all the information to then address our issues and find those resources. And there's more resources for men than there are for women.
When I first started applying for my veterans benefits, was back in 1995. And at that time, they didn't have female doctors for women veterans. So everything I had to go through was done by a man. And men, naturally, are very gruff. Suck it up, brush it off. You can do this. And I was re-traumatized through that process when I got out, just trying to get my benefits. And that's what women had to go through. Now, granted, thank you, Jesus, somebody saw the light of day and they finally are starting to change that within the VA system. And I think it's great. But again, it's not like your favorite brand of coffee. They don't go out and market it. They don't advertise that these are the things that the VA does for you. If they did that, I think there would be so much more positive in the world if we could get that information out there. And, of course, that's what our business wants to do. We want to gather that information, those resources, and be able to hand it out to someone and say, you're not alone. Here you go. This is what we can do for you. How much are you willing to put forth? And taking out whether you're a man or a woman, we don't care. We only care that, number one, you served. That's all that matters. And as long as, yeah.
Right, and that they're getting the benefits they do deserve.
Yeah, exactly. You earned them. You wrote
Absolutely.
your, because a lot of people say this, and I know you guys probably have heard it, but I don't think everybody really understands. When we sign our name on that dotted line, it is everything up to and including our lives. It's literally a blank check that we write to the United States for all of you, for everyone outside the military, that we are going to protect and serve no matter what. And I think there's a lot of people out there that really just don't get that fact. I mean, really put that in your brain and think about it for a second. You've really got to be dedicated.
And not only that, but I'm going to jump in here because right now the stigma, right? There's such a negative stigma with just veterans, PTSD. Here, I'm going to just throw stats out. I'm just doing it.
Do it.
She's the woman.
So right now, it's 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men. There's not a single person on this earth that doesn't have some form of PTSD, depression, anxiety, OCD. I mean, we could just go down the DSM-5 and sex addiction, food addiction, sugar addiction. I mean,
Drug addiction,
right? So what people don't realize is that when you go through an adverse situation, you're going to respond the way you respond. And that's your personal experience. Right? So who am I or anyone in this room to say, suck it up, buttercup? That's a term we hear all day, every day as a female veteran. Right? But now, like we mentioned, right? If you're in your masculine and your wife is doing her feminine, you can come home, and if you've had the worst day, you have a safe space to now, because that safe space has been created, right? Not everyone has that. So now here we are, mass shootings like COVID-19, I think, exposed what was already under the current going on in our nation, right? Gen Xers, Gen Zers, I mean, we could go down this laundry list, right? We're moving the goalposts, right? I'm a 70s kid. I started working at 14. I was given chores and responsibilities. If I did something stupid, guess what? Before, there was no cell phones back then, but I'm going to tell you now, from the time I got to the spot where I did something stupid, the phone was already ringing in my house. And my grandmother, my auntie, somebody was there. Bang acá, mama. You're getting it, right? Versus now, oh, don't say that to my child. And we don't realize the ripple effects. So now here's this. This is another stat.
Yeah.
So our military is now weakened. Why?
Well, we kids.
There you go. Not only mentally and emotionally, but physically.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They're all
How many
fat and out
times
of
have you walked in and you got some mom, okay, at the Quick Trip, okay, get your breakfast, Lunchable, donut, Mountain Dew.
Mm-hmm.
And you're 8. Dude, no. Mountain Dew is the last thing you want to put. I've seen baby bottles with that green neon stuff in it. So now, what's the long term, right? Osteoporosis, the bones are not as strong as before, nutrient deficient. Now we're going to send them to a stressful environment, because the whole point of the military is to break our civilian mentality down, right? Versus, okay, it's not I'm no longer individual. I have to be concerned with, this is my new family, right? So got your 6. That is, a term we use a lot. Why? Because I don't care if I'm a man or a woman.
If somebody's firing on you, we're right there to
We're right
to
there.
cover
Or
you.
if you're injured, I don't care what my weight is, because, again, studies have shown adrenaline hit, I'm going to be able to lift you up and bring you to safety. Mm-hmm. So, again, there's all these stigmas that we need to break down, right? We need to get back to community. We need to get back to that no fuss. Bring it back to what brought us to be that great nation. So our military now, Cyndi and I have conversations and we laugh, because I had people in my face yelling, screaming.
They can't do that now.
No, they cannot.
No.
There's a policy that changed in that, right?
Correct.
Didn't they say no, you can't yell at people's face like that? Like,
Right, but you don't understand what that did.
and I'm like, what? Why?
Right. That's
And the part of the point is
exactly
like,
it.
get over your emotional fuss.
Okay.
Whatever. Like, you're in a tough situation.
How do you discipline your children at home?
Well, first, okay. Well, I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
This just happened.
How stupid was it what they did?
This just happened yesterday, and I have 2 boys, 8 and 9, and then I've got a 2.5-month-old daughter.
Okay.
And so that's a whole new.
That's going to change everything.
Oh yeah, that'll change everything right
See,
there.
that little girl's going to bring out your feminine.
Oh, it does.
And it kind of already is, and I'm trying
And
to
already
mentally
break your
prepare
heart,
myself to mentally mature myself as fast as I can, right? Or emotionally mature myself.
you go.
Okay. So with my boys the other day, they roughhouse, they get into altercations, whatever. But yesterday, one of them accidentally popped the other one in the face, and he had a bloody tooth, right? And he comes in, and mom sees his face, and the kid was fine. Yeah, he had a bloody tooth or whatever, he got popped or whatever, but it was an accident. But as soon as he saw mom's reaction, he immediately started crying. He was fine for 3 minutes. I went back and watched it. We have one of those Ring cameras. I went back and watched what happened, because they asked. They're like, "Did you catch us on camera?" I said, "Yeah, I know what happened." And so they both kind of told their own versions of the story. And so, but it was funny. Like he started crying as soon as he saw mom's reaction, and mom had her whatever. And I'm trying to figure out what happened. So my first approach is not to start whooping the other one's ass because he, popped him in the mouth. I need to figure out what happened between the two, make sure the story's in line, and figure out what the intention was. Did he just walk up to his brother and just punch him in the face for no reason? No, I doubt that. Right? What's the intention? What's the reason? But I had to sit down. I always come with the first approach. First approach is to kind of educate and get them to understand that yesterday's lesson was intention. And so the example I used was like, if your intention is to go get a glass of water because you're thirsty, that's your reason why you're going to go get a glass of water. If you're going to get a glass of water and then you're going to go dump it on your brother, now you're being malicious and your intention is different. So yes, you hit him. That's a fact. It happened. Whether it was an accident or on purpose is what we need to determine. Now, my disciplinary action may be a little different if he was malicious and he just walked up to his brother and just socked him in the mouth. But he was like, you want to wrestle? You want to fight? And then he kind of came up to him, and then the other one responded, and he said, no, I don't want to. He got popped in the face, and then the other one turned around and hit him back. And so that was the other part of the story. Is like, okay, well, listen, the only time I want you guys to the only time I want you to just beat the shit out of somebody, and is if you're put in a corner and you can't go and tell someone, like an adult, a parent, a teacher, if that person's bigger than you, or if there's multiple people that are cornering you, right? Like if you are actually in defense, that's when I want you to get defensive. Like you put your fist up and you fight your way out, And I told the one that accidentally hit his brother, I told him that if this was a situation and he was 10 years older in high school, he would be the one that would be in trouble. He would be the one to, I was like, you could go to jail. You could, I could get in trouble. The principal will get onto you. You'd be the one that'd go into suspension because he's the one that is hurt. He's the one that's bruised, bleeding, or whatever. And so I always try to take that approach to try to give them the education part and to try to take the emotional maturity part. And it was hard for me because we all got heated for a minute because we're like, somebody was crying, somebody else was crying. Mom was like, oh, one of my boys are hurt. And I'm like, oh, hold on. So we all had to separate, and I had to pull my whole family back together. I'm like, I came home early to spend time with you guys. You guys are not going to your rooms, and I'm not going back to my office, and Mom's not staying in a bad mood. So we're going to get through this. And so we all had a conversation.
So I have a question.
But
how would you and Devin have been disciplined with that?
oh man, Mom would have been. She probably would have wailed on one of us. She's like, you don't hit your brother. How does this feel?
The only reason
watch yourself or whatever. But she would have also, there's been times where she would have done that, but she would have also taken my approach
right.
as well.
Yeah.
It's 50-50, but there's,
I asked this because I love that she asked that question because you mentioned you have 2 boys. You're about to have a girl. I have 3 girls. Right. So I know.
It's a completely different household.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Dude, girls
Night
are
or
just as
day.
vicious.
Oh, and the
just
drama
as
starts
vicious,
early.
if not worse. My dad would have walked in and both of our asses would have been whooped.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty much how I handle my household. Because at home, I have the same issue with my wife. She's the nurturer. She's in her feminine. Anytime there's somebody screaming, crying, something, she tries to make it okay. Which is great. I love it, right? But at the same time, I tell my wife, I understand that, but there's not another man in this house. And I need my girls to understand what a man's supposed to be. And unfortunately, that makes me the bad guy. When I raise my voice, my kids don't try to, stand up to me. No, they go cry in their closet because dad just raised their voice at them. I didn't hit them or anything. I just raised my voice at them because I don't like the way you're talking to your mom.
Hey, you need to go brush your teeth.
But
Right.
here's
Get
the
into
thing,
bed.
you guys, believe it or not, but on the unconscious level, you're teaching your children some vital skills that are not being taught at home.
That's what I was about to say. Because getting whooped, both of us getting whooped, taught both of you to pay attention and take care of each other, which is a good and a bad thing. Because in one, when you accidentally pop the other one, hey, shh, I don't want you to tell mom. In a sense, like you're taking yourselves, kind of pushing yourselves through that, so you don't have to have some outside force to come mitigate that altercation, which is
also,
good
too,
and
the
bad.
discipline has to be equal to the action.
Right, but more
Right.
importantly, you're dealing with it and you're allowing your children to process these emotions. How many other children in different households don't get that?
It's
Right?
true.
You don't
It's-
get taught that underlying.
Right. And then now, so what people, I was a single parent. My daughter's 25 and God bless her because, I came out the military with some serious issues.
She made it.
And so did you.
And not only that, but she's an amazing young lady.
She really
I
is.
cannot, I
Love
look
her
at
to
her
death.
and I bear hug her because I'm like, baby, you're doing it, right? You're doing it better than I did at your age. Because our job as parents is what? To put our kids on our shoulders and catapult them to that next level.
To make them sustainable for their future.
Right. But we want to
Yeah.
make them better than
Better
what
than
we
we
were.
are.
Make them better. Yeah.
Right? So they could go further,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then take those skill sets and teach the next generation. So what's happening is that when we don't have that process, now you have this kid. That's why we have so many unconscious, emotionally immature people running around the world. I'm a man, I'm a woman, right? You have women running around, I could do all things and I can be superwoman, and then at home she's crying because she's doing it all alone, but you stay in your masculine, so you now can attract. You can't
attract a man.
That provider and protector.
Or
right?
if you do attract a man, it's one of those who can't feel masculine because he's that part of him is replaced by her, and she can't release that part of her masculinity to him to help, so he can't fulfill his role. Oh my God, I love
dude.
this
It's a lot deeper than you think.
What I'm saying?
It comes down to we're just animals, dude. We're all just a bunch of animals. And
But
the
it goes
families,
back to
it's crazy.
Cup of coffee, conversation with your wife,
Yes.
we're a team, because you got to remember, as a husband and a wife, you're the first impression for your daughters. What kind of man do I want in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Same
you're the
thing-
first man in her life.
Right,
That's
and
the
the
important
same
thing to
thing with-
remember.
I'm setting the bar.
Right,
Exactly.
you are, just
You
like your
have to.
wife is, right? So we have to draw the line in the sand and, okay, honey, I'm going to let Tag, you're going to handle this one. We're a team, right? Because the kids will see, oh, I come in and be like, Mom and Dad,
Mm-hmm.
I could put this one again. Oh, let me cry and go, Mommy. And so
And I love
So
that team mentality
they learn
too.
young to play.
And there's
off of
times
each
to where
other.
she's my fiance, but she might as well be my wife. So where she'll gauge me sometimes. Sometimes she's like, you're being a little too hard, too tough, and sometimes I'll agree, and sometimes I go, no, I feel like they need it. Sometimes I'm harder on one than the other. Fair, but they're kids, but they're different. You know
But
what I
it's
mean? They're
based
both
on their
boys, but they're
differences
different.
too.
Right. One is more like me growing up. Very hard-headed, very loud, very busy, can't sit still. Like, you give him 3 instructions, 3 tasks to do, and he does one of them and forgets the other 2, and gets completely distracted. So it's not me being an asshole, but it's me like, hey, told you to brush your teeth, change your clothes, and get into bed and grab a book or whatever. You missed the other 2. And I'm like, David, you're getting distracted. Go do this or whatever it is. But I love the team mentality too, because like me and her work together so well as a team, and we constantly connect in ways that remind us that we're a team and it's us against the problem. It's not you did this and now you're my problem. It's like, okay, well, this happened. You and me need to approach that and tackle it together, right?
right, because I think most marriages, and then I'll kind of take this right where I was leading with it, right? So most marriages, okay, once we start having kids, it's all about the kids, and we forget to nurture our marriage.
Yep.
And we forget to nurture each other, right? So now we've had a great conversation. Now think about what our military is looking like,
Mm-hmm.
and what our future military is going to look like. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how do we get back to basics? How do we
Right.
get back to, no fuss, right?
Right.
And we're bringing it back to our coffee. But because again, it starts at home. Greg is sitting here just being an amazing person. And, again, we have to know when to, okay, I'm gonna let husband
It's
take.
his turn. Yep.
It's his turn. All right. Okay. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Right. Same thing with the female. Greg will have to go, okay, I'm going to keep my mouth because, and we forget that. So now we go into the military and it's a culture shock. But now we have these hurts, habits, and hangups that we don't know what to do with.
Right.
And then it gets amplified. Right? Now, let's talk about what is the normal age that you join the military?
18, right after high school.
18 to 21.
Yeah. First 3 years.
Yep.
Now, how, right? So we talk about rearing our kids and those experiences that formulate their personality and who they are. So at 18, 19, 20, are they grown?
Hell no.
Thank you.
What? Our brains
I
don't
mean,
develop until we're 25.
Right.
I
so
find
now,
it crazy too how like I can be trusted with a $20 million tank and I can go and shoot guns, but I can't buy a beer. Or I
Right.
mean, now it's
Exactly.
cigarettes and
So
stuff
I
too.
could
But
I could put my
you know,
line. I could put my life on the line for our country, but I can't kick back and have one beer because I'm. So
So if
you
they're
see
changing
culture?
the ages for that, for that stuff too. I feel like they need to change it for the military as well. Like I need to be mentally and emotionally prepared for what I'm about to do with my life,
Exactly.
and not to choose another avenue just because I can't figure out what else to do.
Well,
Which I feel like a lot of people do that too. They're like, I'm
That's
gonna go
where she
join the
was going, I
military
think.
because I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life.
Right, so now-
and I'm like, okay, well, no, I want you to join the military because you know what you're getting into, and you care for your
Right,
country,
right.
and I want you to enjoy it too. And
And those that are really gung ho in joining the military were raised in a military environment.
Yes.
yeah,
Those that really do a great job.
I think what she was getting at is you're getting these kids that don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to deal with their traumas because of too much censorship, whether the parents, the school, whatever. And then you're setting them into this environment
I think it's more desensitized.
right.
correct, yeah.
And then you're sending them into this environment where they're not emotionally or mentally prepared to go through that change. And then they come out and they don't have the resources to figure out what happened.
Yep.
What happened to them? Because they were already in this state. I can remember back being that age and I was an idiot. I mean, just an idiot. I moved out at 16. Why? I don't know. I thought I knew everything. I did not. I think about 21, 22, 23. I'm an idiot. There's no reason, period, I should really be allowed to do anything at that age. I mean, you're just young and dumb. But you're finding yourself in that time. You're trying to figure out what those traumas were that you were a kid, or traumas that you may have made up for yourself. As you said, we all go through our own ideas. But in the grand scheme of things, then you have these kids, like you said, that don't know what they're doing, and they go to the military, and then now they're shocked. And now everything they were trying to figure out on their own is now figured out military-wise, which is fine if you have the support once they come back to civilian life. And I've seen it. Like I said, it's crazy to me. I didn't even think about the women in military until you guys said that earlier. But I've seen it. Essentially, just like people go to jail too early and become institutionalized, I've seen the same thing happen in the military, where people come back home like, I can't do it. I got to go back to the military.
Right. They don't know how to deal with
Right.
civilian life. They don't know how to go back.
Right.
And some of these people may have had traumatic experiences growing up, and when they get into the military, all of a sudden they've got a solid life. They've got routine. They understand. They know what's expected of them. So they've got a great life. Yes, they've got a stability in their lives. And all of a sudden you send them back out into the civilian world.
The wild, yeah. I like it.
And they're almost like good luck. Like
Right.
here's a
They're
couple
like,
of brochures
here
and
you
good
go.
luck.
Yeah,
Right.
thank
Yep.
you. And there's
There's no transition.
There's no transition, one, and two, just that, I'm a firm believer that, each military member probably needs a good 6 months, you know what I mean, in some transitional program. Okay, so I've been away from my wife and kids for 6 months,
Yeah.
right?
How do I transition back into
So
that
how do I,
family life?
Right.
especially when I got wailing kids that their voices screech to these heights, you're like, how did you get to that acting?
My AirPods, when I wear them and my daughter cries, it'll go quiet because it's too loud, and so it'll do that. And so
Yeah.
It only gets worse.
So I'll give you what happened with my daughter. So my daughter is nearing she's finishing, she's at the tail end of her high school career. And so our phone numbers are literally 2 digits off, right? I'm 7'1", she's 2149. So the next thing you know, I got the Marine recruiter, the Army recruiter. She wanted to be a Marine. She was hell-bent and adamant about she's joining the military. I said, excuse my French, the hell you are? I said, no, ma'am. I said, now, when you turn 21, if you still have the same passion and the same ideology, by all means, I told her, I said, go get a degree. I don't care if it's a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree. I don't care. I want you to live life a little bit. I want you to find yourself. Now she's 25 and she looks at me, she says, thank you, Mom, for being such a hard ass. Because now she sees, right? So here it is, almost 7 years later. And, I'm very proud of her because I think it's her and 2 other young adults. They're not married. They don't have kids. The good portion of her graduating class, which was small. It wasn't like it was, like when I graduated, it was 1,500 kids. All married, on their 2nd or 3rd kid. You're not 25. So again, we still have children raising children because mentally and emotionally, we're nowhere near the mark.
Right.
So now, again, so that's why there's so many disparities, right? And there's a lot of stigma, and then there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Assumptions. So the assumption is that every veteran gets out, oh, they're taken care of. That's far from
They're
the
taken
truth.
care of for life. They got this, they got this, they
Nope.
got this. The government's
That's-
still babying them, blah, blah, blah.
That's
Like,
far
Yeah.
from the truth.
I
That's
know that
not
too.
how
I've
it
got
goes.
friends. I've got friends and I've had friends in the military. I've got a couple buddies I used to ride motorcycles with that are no longer here with us because of the lack of support. And I used to hear stories, frustrating stories from them. And I'm like, you guys don't have this support, or you guys have been like, you need this surgery, or you have this issue, whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm just flabbergasted.
Right. So it's a system.
It's
So
not
that's
there.
where we go to, GI Love, Joe, where we're going with this is there's tons of organizations. Again, there's a lot of information out there, right? Blue Star Mothers, you got Gold Star families, you have, here in Tulsa, the Coffee Bunker, Eagle Eye. There's so many different organizations, and they're all doing, they have the same mentality. How do we bridge, or how do we lessen the disparities, right? It doesn't matter if it's a female veteran or a male veteran, right? But nobody wants to play in the sandbox. So what my hope is with this company, our hope, I believe,
Yeah.
right? We all agree, is that we find some way to then collaborate and bring these resources together. So then that veteran that seems lost, that just can't handle. I have met with men and women that have been through military sexual trauma and PTSD, and they just don't know how to maneuver what we call life. Again, we say it all the time, in the military you have three hots in a cot. You were told when to get up, now you get out, and what cereal do I choose? Because there's only like 1,500 of them. You know what I mean? There's just so much diversity. So how do we bring it back to basics, and how do we help each and every veteran? I don't care if you're National Guardsman, reservists. Again, what a lot of people don't realize is that if a military member was discharged from from the military dishonorably, there's no resources for them at all. They don't qualify. So when people say, I don't understand why I see so many homeless veterans, you don't know what their backstory is. But they still need help. Rather, it's physical, mental, emotional, financial. So our hope with our company is that we're going to bridge that, and we're going to try to work with as many community partners, and again, just get that information. So like you said, with each sip, it's a salute to our soldiers, both our men and women, because one is not less than the other. We all have issues, each and every one of us. I don't care. The stats tell us, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah.
The
Every day.
isolation, so one of my big, one of my personal, and Cyndi can tell you, is it blows my mind that in one of the richest countries, we have homelessness and, more important, food insecurity. That children go to sleep hungry. That if they're not in school, for some of them, that's the only meal they get. So now when summer break happens, it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart to see my brothers and sisters not getting the help that they need. But then we stigmatize it when one loses it because they could have been walking the beat, trying their hardest, just like Cyndi, shared her story, trying to get what's deserved. They served. This is what they earned. And they're not getting it. So now they go on a rampage. They're having a mental breakdown. Okay, yeah, another veteran with PTSD shot up this. Bro, where's our humanity?
And that's part of what GI Love Joe is doing, is trying to bring back the human in humanity, by sharing our experiences, by sharing a great cup of coffee, and just letting people get how they feel out.
We're coming up on our 2-minute mark. So
Uh-oh.
I definitely want to hear more, and I don't want to stop by all means. And we definitely will do a part 2 on this.
Greg,
Yes.
thank
We
you
will
so
have to.
much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But go ahead and say what you're going to say.
You know, I just think that we're in the military and we're fighting. And when we get out, instead of just being given what we deserve,
We're still fighting.
we fight tooth and nail, day in and day out, to be recognized. And I don't think that's fair. I mean, if a transgender is out there and wants something, they get it. Why?
What have they done for
You know what?
society?
Yeah, I mean that's the question for a lot. I mean, is it okay?
I mean,
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against
right.
transgender.
Let's not be prejudiced, but yeah,
I'm not,
we
but-
cater to certain groups and demographics versus others.
Right.
And here we have a group that has been at the disadvantage since the very beginning. Really, I mean, so it's time for us as Americans to stop playing sissy, so to speak, and start standing up for our rights. And our basic right is just to be a human being, a normal, everyday human being, and be treated as such. And that's what we want to do with GI Love Joe, and that's the community that we're hoping to create
And
in the
build.
future.
That was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Coffee with a cause.
Yes, coffee with a cause.
I love that. If I need to buy some coffee, how do I do that? We're working on that.
Yeah, we are working on that. We're actually working on a website right now. We
We do have an email address.
yes.
So I can send you guys an email.
Yes, definitely an email, and it's at gilovejoecoffee@gmail.com. You can send an email. Our brands or our flavors, I should say, are Bugle Boy, which is the light roasted blend, great morning coffee. And then there is Oh Glory, Hail to the Chief, which we tried today, and then also the Bombs Away.
Yeah.
So you're going from lightest to darkest at that point. So
They're delicious.
all of them are amazing.
And so today we tried the Hail to the Chief and Bombs Away. And so next time we're going to have some great conversations over Bugle Boy and Old Glory.
yes.
Does that sound good to you guys?
Yes.
Okay. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are enjoying the content, we'd love to see your support. Give us a like, subscribe, leave us a review. It means the world to us, and it helps others find us as well. So if you're curious about what some of the next episodes are going to be, you can like, follow, and comment and share, and give us some ideas on who we should interview next. Our social media handles are Brews in, that's a letter N, and B-I-Z, Brews and Biz, with topics that you'd like for us to cover. Until then, cheers and happy brewing. Thank you, GI Love Joe, for coming in.
Thank
It's
you
our
for having
pleasure.
us.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.